Chinese military during the Second Sino-Japanese War was highly complex, comprising the nationalist, regional warlords, and the Communist Party. The vast geographical expanse of the battlefield, stretching from northern China to the southwest, contributed to the intricate nature of the military structure. Consequently, the uniforms of the nationalist, particularly those of the Corps Central Army, were equally diverse and complex. Now, let's delve into an introduction of the uniforms worn by the Corps Central Army during the War of Resistance. The uniforms of the Central Army can be broadly categorized into 4 types. 1. Full dress uniform. 2. Service dress uniform. 3. Field service uniform. 4. Utility uniform. The full dress uniform will not be specifically discussed in this article because it is rarely worn and limited to only high-ranking officials. It lacks sufficient representativeness and is not widely adopted. Additionally, our team does not have the budget for purchasing or customizing full-dress uniforms, so we will skip this section for now. The service dress uniform worn by military officers serves as their formal attire commonly observed in rear units, administrative offices, and military academies. This attire is not intended for combat purposes, but rather reserved for formal occasions. It is differentiated for summer and winter seasons, primarily varying in material composition. Summer uniforms are made of worsted, twill, or beige, while winter uniforms utilize wool. Additionally, officers are issued wool overcoats. The standard colors for the service dress uniform include dark grass yellow, grass green, olive green, deep brown, and others. Most officers personally commission these uniforms at their own expense. Adopted in 1933 and gradually standardized by 1938, early variations featured diverse styles, various pocket designs, and versions with shoulder straps. The military cap came in both the dress hat and buttoned mountain hat styles, with the dress hat version phased out after 1936. When officers wear the service dress uniform, they seldom adorn it with insignia. Most opt for graduation commemorative badges or various chest insignias. Additionally, when wearing this attire, officers typically carry a sword with the Zhongjing sword belt. There are 2 types of trousers, Western trousers and riding breeches. When wearing Western trousers, officers opt for either short or tall leather shoes, but do not wear riding boots. In contrast, when wearing riding breeches, they primarily wear riding boots, although there are instances of pairing them with tall leather shoes and leg bindings. In the later stages of the war, a simplified fabric belt was adopted. By the spring of 1946, this uniform was gradually phased out and entirely undistribution in the summer of the same year, replaced by the new-style military uniform. Field service uniform. The field service uniform is the most complex attire, with distinctions between officers and soldiers. The design features of the uniform, particularly the pockets, serve as identifiers for distinguishing officers from enlisted personnel. Officer uniforms typically incorporate stereoscopic pockets, while soldiers' uniforms have flat pockets. The field service uniform is intended for training and operational use by both officers and soldiers. It undergoes variations for different seasons, notably in summer and winter. Summer uniforms are made of lightweight fabric, and their evolution is intricate, influenced by factors such as environmental terrain, dyes, and budget constraints, resulting in a diverse range of colors. In contrast, winter uniforms are crafted from materials like cotton and wool. They are relatively simpler compared to their summer counterparts. Field service uniform also include distinctions in terms of trousers, such as riding breeches, Western-style trousers, and even shorts. Riding breeches are typically worn by officers, but in various branches like artillery and cavalry, soldiers may also use them. The choice between long trousers and shorts depends on the climate, with shorts being worn during hot weather for comfort. Now, let's delve into the details of various types of field service uniform. Summer grass yellow field service uniform. The grass yellow field service uniform, adopted as the standard color for the Nationalist Army, was implemented in 1933 and universally adopted by the Central Army in 1937. However, the dye for this particular color was expensive. Therefore, by around 1940, most military units had discontinued the use of this color due to cost considerations. Only a few officers continued to wear uniforms in the grass-yellow shade. In 1945, during the takeover of Taiwan, the phenomenon persisted, where officers were still observed wearing grass-yellow uniforms, while soldiers adopted uniforms in a tan or earthy yellow color. This marked a distinct contrast in the attire of officers and soldiers, even during the transition period. One notable characteristic of the grass-yellow uniforms was the issue of severe fading. Due to suboptimal dye quality, the faded uniforms tended to shift towards colors like tan, white khaki. Summer blue-gray field service uniform. Gray-blue summer uniforms began to be adopted around 1938-1939 and saw widespread usage throughout the 1940s. This gray military uniform is often mistakenly associated with the attire exclusively used by the 8th Route Army or local militias. In reality, it was a commonly utilized uniform for the nationalist forces in the battlefields of Chongqing, Chengdu, Hunan, Hubei, and North China. The primary reason for its adoption was the scarcity and higher production costs of grass yellow fabric, leading to the local extraction of dyes. Consequently, a substantial quantity of blue-gray military uniforms was produced. This blue-gray color variant exhibited various tones, including deep blue, light blue, and gray blue, reflecting a lack of uniformity in its appearance. After the victory in the War of Resistance against Japan, this uniform was no longer in use. However, due to its extensive use during the war, the gray military uniform became the established image of the nationalist forces during World War II in the eyes of the global public. Summer tan field service uniform. This type of military uniform was adopted around 1938, primarily intended for use in environments such as the Loess Plateau and deserts. However, it saw extensive use in the later stages of the anti-Japanese war, particularly in the battlefields of Shanxi, Hunan, Hubei, and western Yunnan and northern Burma. This widespread adoption was driven by the scarcity of grass yellow fabric, making tan uniforms a practical substitute. Wintergrass green wool field service uniform. This type of wool field service uniform is distinctive in that it maintains a uniform appearance for both officers and enlisted personnel, without distinguishing differences in the design of pockets. It was introduced in the early 1930s and became standardised in 1938. This particular uniform has been consistently utilized for winter wear by instructional units, military academy students, and administrative offices. Although it has been in use for an extended period, it has not become widely popular. Furthermore, during combat, the nationalist Chinese military had a practice of discarding visible rank insignias, and as a result, some high-ranking officers at the company level and above would also don woolen military uniforms. Despite the conspicuous nature of wearing woolen uniforms, many officers opted for this attire during battle. Winter grey military field service uniform. The winter grey military uniform was universally adopted in 1937, but specifically for field units. This type of grey winter military uniform found extensive usage across various theatres, ranging from the North China battlefield to the Southwest battlefield. The color palette includes different shades such as gray, gray blue, and blue. These uniforms were in use for an extended period, even after the victory in the War of Resistance against Japan. One notable drawback of this uniform was its pronounced bulkiness. In heavy snow conditions, some units would reverse the uniform, exposing the white lining, thereby enhancing its camouflage effectiveness. Utility uniform. The military utility uniform was initially introduced in 1942 and first utilized by the troops stationed in India. It was officially issued to various units in 1943. Designed for extreme heat conditions, the utility uniform consists of a collared shirt and shorts. The available colors include tan, khaki, and grass yellow. Foreign military uniforms. British Army tropical uniform. The British Army's tropical uniform was issued around 1942 and was primarily used by the new First Army and new Sixth Army in the battlefields of western Yunnan and northern Burma. It was also worn during the liberation of Nanjing, Guangzhou, and the advance into Manchuria. Notably, in Nanjing, soldiers only wore this uniform before entering the city, switching to a different uniform upon entering. American military uniforms, summer khaki field uniform. Issued around 1942, this uniform was utilized in training camps in western Yunnan, northern Burma, and Guangxi for field operations. Sometimes it was even used in conjunction with the British tropical uniform, wool field uniform. In 1945, a wool field uniform was introduced. After the victory in the War of Resistance against Japan, during the liberation of Nanjing and the advance into Manchuria, all soldiers and officers entering Nanjing were required to wear the same style of American military uniform for a neat and uniform appearance, replacing other types of uniforms. These various foreign military uniforms played a role in different theaters and campaigns during the Second Sino-Japanese War. This concludes our channel. For those who enjoyed our show, don't forget to like and subscribe.